We're blocking the entrance to the Toronto Board of Trade, where the CEO of the National Energy Board, who Stephen Harper appointed, is talking about Canada's energy future. Harper's National Energy Board is completely illegitimate. It has utterly failed on the duty to consult with First Nations. Communities such as Tsleil-Waututh First Nation have utterly rejected pipelines such as Kinder Morgan, and the NEB continues to recklessly approve them. So we're doing this action to raise awareness and ideally pressure Prime Minister Trudeau to simply do his promise, to implement the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, to include the right to free, prior and informed consent to the use of land, and to meaningfully include climate change in its review.
So we're just outside the Toronto Board of Trade right now. I'm with Katie Kraylove, who attended an announcement that was made by the National Energy Board today. And there's a protest outside. I wasn't allowed to get inside, but you did. And you also got to go on a date with Peter Watson of the National Energy Board, who's the chair. So how did all this go? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I paid the $100 to hear Peter Watson talk about a new report the NEB has released on Canada's energy future. And because Canada's energy future matters to me, I wanted to hear what he had to say. The crux of what I took from his talk was that the National Energy Board is almost admitting that they can't properly do their job right now without a federal announcement on greenhouse gas regulations and how that will look. They're currently still operating under Stephen Harper's mandate, which doesn't allow them to take into account uncertainties like climate policy, and they want that. In order to move forward, what's needed is the federal government to make those announcements. And unfortunately, the National Energy Board is still going forward with pipeline assessments still under the old mandate.
So how's your date with Peter Watson?
It was very flattering. Yeah, I got invited to have a private conversation with him, and I felt like that was a lot due to a lot of the climate activism that I've been involved with and other people in Toronto 350 have been involved with, and that's really having an effect, I think. And we're seeing that the National Energy Board, and he admitted it himself, is much more concerned with public perception now. So I gave him a few tips on how the NEB could fix their public image. I said, number one, they could stop the current pipeline assessments from going on under the old deficient mandate. And I also said that they could publicly announce that they want to hear the federal government's greenhouse gas emissions regulations, and that they will work diligently to apply them to their assessment immediately. And so he told me to look out for the federal government, Trudeau's announcement today on the additional climate test they're going to put Kinder Morgan and Energy East through, which again I think is through pressure from grassroots groups like Toronto 350 and immense pressure from Indigenous groups on the front lines as well. So we will be looking out for that announcement. We'll be looking to see if it's tough enough, that it's in line with climate science and in line with the commitments that came out of Paris and 1.5 degree warming